Okay, so we're going to be looking into millionaire morning routines today.
Yeah, we are. And I think we need to start by sort of addressing the elephant in the room,
Oh, okay.
the myth that all millionaires wake up at the crack of dawn.
Right, like 4 a.m., 5
Oh.
a.m. It's like the magic hour or something.
Yeah, it's a popular idea, but the data actually tells us something different.
Oh, really?
Research shows the average wake-up time for billionaires is actually 6:01 a.m.
6:01.
Yeah.
So not the 5 a.m. club then,
Exactly. It seems that maybe the early bird doesn't always get the worm,
or the billion-dollar business idea.
or the billion-dollar business idea. That's right.
Okay, so maybe waking up before the sun isn't the secret sauce?
Yeah.
But then what are these millionaires doing with their mornings? Are they just leisurely sipping coffee and reading the Financial Times?
Not quite. While there is no one-size-fits-all routine, there are some common threads that we can find.
Oh, interesting.
Tom Corley, who spent 5 years studying the habits of 233 self-made millionaires, found that they consistently practice 5 key habits in their mornings.
Okay, lay it on me.
Right.
What are the millionaire secrets?
Well, first and foremost, they prioritize reading. A whopping 85% of the millionaires Corley studied read at least 2 books a month.
2 books a month. Every month.
Every month? Think about that.
Wow, I can barely get through one a month, let alone two.
Yeah.
What kind of books are they reading? Were they talking all business books here?
Not necessarily. While business and self-improvement are popular genres, millionaires also delve into biographies, history, science fiction,
Really?
even fantasy.
Fantasy. Now that I did not expect, I can't picture a billionaire curled up with, a dragon-filled novel or something.
You might be surprised. The key here is continuous learning, expanding your horizons, and gaining different perspectives.
Okay.
Take Warren Buffett, for example. He's known to spend hours every morning reading newspapers and books. He believes that knowledge compounds over time, just like interest.
So it's about building that mental wealth, just like financial wealth.
Precisely. And speaking of wealth, the second habit is health. 75% of millionaires make time for regular exercise. It's not necessarily about punishing workouts, but just about staying active and feeling energized.
Yeah, okay. You got to stay sharp to make those million-dollar decisions.
Exactly. Richard Branson, for example, starts his day with a swim, a bike ride, or even a kite surfing session.
Kite surfing. Okay, I'm starting to think these millionaires are having way more fun than us.
Well, they definitely seem to prioritize their well-being. And that brings us to the third habit, goal setting. Millionaires don't just wander through their days, they plan them meticulously often, the night before.
So it's all about intention and structure. I'm starting to see a pattern here. They're proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. They know what they want to achieve, and then they allocate their time accordingly. Elon Musk is famous for breaking down his day into 5-minute slots.
5-minute slots. Wow, okay, that's next level planning right there.
He's all about maximizing efficiency.
Hmm.
That level of detail might not be for everyone, but the principle applies. Having a clear plan helps you stay focused and avoid distractions.
Okay, so we've got reading, exercise, goal setting. What's next on the millionaire morning agenda?
This one might surprise you. It's relationship building. Millionaires actively nurture their connections, understanding that power of networks and collaboration.
Really? So it's not all about solo grinding in a dimly lit office.
Not at all. They prioritize networking events, lunches with colleagues, quality time with their loved ones. They recognize that success is often a team sport,
Okay.
and that strong relationships contribute to both professional and personal fulfillment.
So it's more about work-life integration than just work-life balance.
Precisely. And the fifth and final habit is a commitment to continuous learning. Millionaires are always seeking new knowledge, new skills, staying ahead of the curve in their field.
So it's not enough to just be successful. You need to constantly evolve.
Exactly. The world's changing rapidly, and they understand the importance of adapting. They attend conferences, they read industry publications, they even take online courses just to keep their knowledge fresh and relevant.
Okay, so we've got reading, exercise, goal setting, relationship building, and continuous learning. That's 5 pretty impactful habits. But I'm going to be real for a second. How does someone, let's say they're not used to doing any of this, how do they even begin to implement these habits into their life? I mean, it seems a little bit overwhelming.
That's a valid point. It can feel daunting to try to overhaul your entire routine all at once.
Yeah.
But the key is to start small and gradually build up your routine. It's not about perfection, it's about progress.
Okay, so no need to set my alarm for 4 a.m. tomorrow and start doing burpees while reading the Wall Street Journal.
Definitely not. We'll get into specifics about how to implement these habits in a manageable way. But first, I think it's important to address another common misconception.
Oh, there's more. I'm intrigued.
It's the idea that you have to become a morning person to be successful.
Oh, yeah, I heard this one too. Like, if you're not bouncing out of bed with the sunrise, you're doomed.
Right. But the truth is, you don't have to force yourself to become a morning person if it's not natural for you. The key is to find what works best for your individual chronotype and your energy levels.
Chronotype. What is that, like a fancy word for night owl or morning lark?
Exactly. It refers to your natural sleep-wake cycle. Some people are naturally more alert in the mornings, while others are more productive in the evenings. The important thing is to identify your own peak performance times
Okay.
and structure your routine accordingly.
So if I'm a night owl, I don't have to torture myself by waking up at 5 a.m. just because some billionaire does.
Not at all. You can adapt these habits to fit your own natural rhythms. The key is consistency and intentionality no matter what time of day you choose to practice them.
Okay, that is a relief to hear. I was starting to feel like I needed to invest in a coffee IV drip just to keep up with these millionaire routines.
No need for any extreme measures. Remember, it's about finding what works best for you and creating a routine that supports your individual goals and well-being.
This is seriously making me rethink my whole approach to mornings. It's not about trying to force myself into somebody else's mold. It's about creating a routine that aligns with my own values and aspirations.
Exactly. And that's what we'll dive deeper into in the next part of our detailed discussion. We'll explore how to tailor these habits to your unique lifestyle and create a morning routine that sets you up for success personally and professionally.
Sounds great. I'm already feeling inspired to ditch the snooze button and make the most of my mornings.
That's the spirit. Remember, even small changes can have a big impact over time.
Can't wait to hear more about it. Okay, so we've debunked some myths about millionaire morning routines, and we've talked about these 5 key habits, but I'm still curious about the specifics, like how do they actually make it all work?
That's a great question, and I think it's helpful to break it down habit by habit, starting with reading. You mentioned earlier that you struggle to get through 1 book a month, let alone 2. So how do millionaires manage to read so much?
Yeah, it feels like a time commitment that's really hard to squeeze in.
It's definitely a commitment, but it's about prioritizing and having a strategy. Many millionaires, they treat reading like an investment. They schedule dedicated time for it, often in the morning when their minds are fresh, and they don't just passively consume information, they actively engage with the material.
What do you mean by actively engage?
Think of it like having a conversation with the author. They'll highlight key passages, take notes, summarize chapters in their own words, and they ask themselves, how can I apply these insights to my own life and to my business?
So it's not just about speed reading or checking off a box. It's about really extracting value and making that knowledge actionable.
Exactly. Now let's talk about exercise. You might imagine millionaires sweating it out in fancy gyms, but in reality, it's more about finding activities that they enjoy and that fit their lifestyle.
So it's not about punishing workouts or trying to become a marathon runner. It's about finding ways to move their body that they can actually stick with.
Right. Some might enjoy yoga or hiking, while others might prefer a brisk walk or a game of tennis. The key is consistency, making it a part of their routine.
I'm starting to realize consistency is a major theme here. It's not about sporadic bursts of effort, but about building those sustainable habits.
You've hit the nail on the head. Now let's move on to goal setting. We talked about how millionaires plan their days meticulously, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, I'm picturing color-coded spreadsheets and, detailed hourly schedules.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. Some millionaires might use simple to-do lists, while others prefer more visual methods like mind maps. The important thing is to have a clear roadmap for the day so you can stay focused and avoid getting sidetracked.
I think that's where I struggle. I have a million things swirling around in my head, and I just end up feeling scattered.
That's a common challenge. One effective strategy is to prioritize your tasks. Identify the 3 most important things that you need to accomplish that day and focus on those first.
Okay, so quality over quantity, focus on the big wins.
Exactly. Now let's tackle relationship building. This one might seem a little less tangible than the others, but millionaires understand that their network is a valuable asset. So they prioritize nurturing those connections.
So it's not just about schmoozing at cocktail parties. It's about genuine connection and building those meaningful relationships.
Precisely. It's about staying in touch, checking in, offering support, showing up for the people in your life. It could be as simple as sending a thoughtful email or scheduling a coffee date. It's about being present and intentional.
I like that, being present and intentional. It seems like those 2 qualities apply to all of these habits.
You're absolutely right. And finally, let's talk about continuous learning. Millionaires are voracious learners. They're always seeking to expand their knowledge and skills.
But with so much information out there, how do they even know where to focus?
They stay curious, they ask questions, they read books and articles, attend conferences, listen to podcasts, they connect with experts in their field.
So it's about being proactive and seeking out those opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly. And it's not just about accumulating knowledge, it's about applying it. Millionaires are constantly experimenting, testing new ideas, and refining their approach.
So it's like a continuous cycle of learning, implementing, reflecting, and refining.
You got it. Now, I know we've thrown a lot of information at you, but I want to emphasize that you don't have to do everything at once.
And that's a relief to hear because I'm feeling a little overwhelmed.
Remember, start small. Pick one habit that resonates with you and focus on building consistency. Once that habit becomes ingrained, you can add another.
So it's like building a house.
Yeah,
You lay a strong foundation first before you add the walls and the roof.
that's a great analogy. And don't be afraid to experiment. What works for one person might not work for another. So find what feels good for you and adjust as needed.
Okay, so no need to feel pressure to copy someone else's routine.
Oh.
Exactly. It's about finding what fits my own life and my goals.
Exactly. And remember, progress over perfection. There will be days when you fall off track. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back on track and keep moving forward.
That's encouraging. So let's say I've chosen my first habit. How do I actually make it stick?
There are a few key strategies that can help. First, make it non-negotiable. Schedule it into your day like you would an important meeting or appointment.
So treat it with the same level of seriousness as a work deadline.
Exactly. Second, set yourself up for success. If you're trying to build a reading habit, for example, make sure you have a book that you're excited to read and that you have a designated time and place to read it.
So remove any potential barriers or excuses.
Exactly. And third, track your progress. Whether it's a physical tracker or a simple note in your phone, seeing how far you've come can be incredibly motivating.
I like that. It's like a visual reminder of your commitment.
It is. And finally, celebrate your wins, acknowledge your effort, and give yourself credit for making positive changes.
So it's not just about the destination. It's about enjoying the journey.
Absolutely. And speaking of the journey, in the next part of our detailed discussion, we'll delve into the real-world impact of these habits. We'll hear inspiring stories of how people have transformed their lives by incorporating these principles into their morning routines.
That sounds fascinating. I'm eager to hear how these habits have made a tangible difference in people's lives.
We'll share those stories with you.
Okay, so we're back and ready for those real-world examples.
Yes, I think these stories really help to bring the power of these millionaire morning routines to life. They really show that these habits aren't just for the elite or people who are already successful. You know, they can benefit anyone regardless of background or current circumstances.
Okay, so let's hear about some of these transformations. Who's our first inspiration?
Let's meet Sarah. She was a young entrepreneur and she was struggling to get her business off the ground.
Okay.
She was working long hours but felt like she was constantly putting out fires and not making real progress.
Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to that feeling. The hustle is real, but it doesn't always equal, meaningful results.
Exactly. Sarah knew she needed to change her approach. She'd heard about the power of morning routines, so she decided to give it a try. She started small, just 30 minutes of reading every day before diving into work.
What kind of books was she reading? Was it anything specific to her industry?
She chose books on business strategy, time management, and personal development. She wanted to gain a broader perspective and learn from people who had already achieved success.
So she was investing in her knowledge and skills.
It was a game changer for her. The knowledge she gained from reading helped her to streamline her operations, delegate tasks more effectively, and focus on her most important priorities.
So she was working smarter, not harder.
Precisely. And as she started to see positive results, she gained momentum. She added exercise to her routine, just a 30-minute jog 3 times a week.
See, I knew there had to be running involved at some point.
Well, it wasn't about punishing herself. It was about boosting her energy and clearing her head before starting the workday. And it worked. She found that she was more focused and productive after her runs.
Okay, so reading and exercise. What else did she incorporate?
She started planning her day the night before. Instead of waking up feeling overwhelmed, she had a clear roadmap for what she needed to accomplish.
I think that's something I really struggle with. I always feel like I'm playing catch up. Maybe I need to try that night before planning thing.
I highly recommend it. It can make a big difference in your productivity and your peace of mind. And as Sarah continued to refine her morning routine, she started to see a ripple effect in other areas of her life. She felt more confident, more energized, and more in control of her time.
That's amazing. It sounds like these small changes really had a big impact.
They absolutely did. She was able to grow her business, attract new clients, and even hire a small team. And it all started with that simple decision to invest in her morning routine.
Wow, that's really inspiring. Okay, so do you have another story for us?
Let's talk about John. He was a single dad working a demanding job and struggling to make ends meet. He was feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, and with very little time for himself or his kids.
Yeah, being a single parent is definitely a challenge on its own. Then you add a demanding job into the mix, and it's no wonder he was feeling overwhelmed.
Right. He knew he needed to make a change, but he wasn't sure where to start. Then a friend recommended a book on personal development, and it highlighted the importance of morning routines.
And that's what piqued his interest.
It did, and John decided to give it a try. He started with a simple goal: waking up an hour earlier each day.
That's easier said than done. What was he doing with that extra hour?
He used it to exercise, read, and plan his day. He started going for walks in the park before work. It was a way for him to get some fresh air, clear his head, get his blood flowing.
So he was prioritizing his physical and mental health.
It was. And he found that the reading habit helped him to gain new perspectives on time management and personal productivity.
So he was learning those practical skills that he could apply to his everyday life.
Exactly. And he started implementing those techniques at work, which made him more efficient and less stressed.
That's a win-win.
Mm.
What about his relationship with his kids? Did that improve as well?
Absolutely. He started setting aside dedicated time each evening to connect with his kids. They would play games, they'd read together, or just talk about their day.
So he was creating that quality time amidst a busy schedule.
Yes, and it made a huge difference. John felt more connected to his children, and his children felt more loved and supported. And as he continued to prioritize his morning routine, he found that he had more energy, more patience throughout the day.
It's amazing how these habits can create a positive ripple effect, not just in our own lives, but in the lives of those around us.
It's true. John's story shows us that it's never too late to make those positive changes. Even small adjustments to our routines can have a huge impact on our overall well-being and on our relationships.
I love these stories. They're so inspiring. They really drive home the point that anyone can benefit from these habits. It's not about becoming a millionaire overnight, but about making those intentional choices that lead to a richer and more fulfilling life.
That's the key takeaway. It's about investing in yourself, building those positive habits, and creating a life that you love.
This has been such an insightful, detailed discussion. I feel very inspired and I'm ready to take action. Any final words of wisdom before we wrap things up?
Remember that success is not a destination. It's a journey. Start small, be consistent, and focus on progress, not perfection. And most importantly, enjoy the process.
That's a great reminder. So to wrap things up, it's not about the specific time you wake up. It's about what you do with your morning. Embrace those 5 key habits: reading, exercise, goal setting, relationship building, and continuous learning, and watch your life transform. Thanks for joining us on this detailed discussion of millionaire morning routines.